We are calling the meeting to order for the Police Accountability Board, July 30th, 2020. It is 6:34 p.m. So we will go ahead and acknowledge the passing of John Lewis and C.T. Vivian this week, and humbled, thankful for everything that they've done for our country, and are thinking of their families at this difficult time. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and review and approve the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at those? They should have been included in the package that was email package that was kindly sent by BJ Scanlon.
Everyone
pretty simple. So I'd suggest that I'd move that we approve them.
Second.
Okay. All right. Motions on the floor to approve the minutes. Second. Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? There are going to be some abstentions because they're not here.
Oh, I don't think those will count as abstentions. They just are not counted in the vote. So the vote would be 5-0.
Okay. All right. So that is the only thing that I have to discuss outside of executive session tonight. And so I'm going to go ahead and put the motion on the floor to go into executive session.
I would also caution that we should state why we're going into executive session.
We're going to be going to executive session. Thank you, Stephanie, to be discussing the executive director position. All in favor?
I thought we were going to discuss the reports.
Oh.
Is that executive session?
No, that's not executive session. Thank you. Thank you, Jora. So we do have, has everybody had a chance to take a look at the two reports that were drawn up by Bob? Okay. So,
I made a couple of changes to the report. I corrected the date on the second report, and I changed the formatting slightly to make it into a one-page document.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you,
that. I just have one grammatical correction in the March one. It's possessive does not have an apostrophe, and it's there twice.
Shame on me.
My mother, the English teacher, lives on. Sorry about that.
So I sent, this is Celia, I sent correction for the March. I just wanted, it's really a question. Should we also include something about when we talk about the referral, or that we're not doing disciplinary right now, or the complaints specifically? Should we say in there who is taking the complaints to clarify it to the general public, or should that even be in our report? Because some people are still not having a clear understanding of who they should be contacting. So any thoughts on that?
I would say that I'm open to adding anything to the report that anyone refers to me as a piece of text.
So then the community outreach, the community discussion, since that is considered community outreach.
That's for the one for June.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Was everyone okay with adding that? Did you feel like it needs
So Shonda, you have something? I haven't seen it.
No, so we took care of it in the June quarter. The June quarter report. It was already in there.
Everything looks really straightforward and good. I think I'm okay with adding it. I think for the nature of this report, it's not essential, but certainly it helps to have it on record that there's still a way to hear complaints through the previous method.
Oh.
And for the June, I don't know if you guys addressed this, but just wanted to see going forward if we are going to add a subtopic for the community outreach if we end up doing it.
Any other thoughts? I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody.
Yeah, so I guess some discussion around that. Does everyone feel like they want to add that, or is there a general consensus? Or
yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be great to discuss that as much as we can before we have the ED to start laying the groundwork for that, so that we can do it and hit the ground running with it. It's mandated in the legislation, so it seems like something we should be responding to.
Okay. Now, just a question of like decorum for this meeting. Does that motion need to be called to the floor, or do we just need to automatically put that into the quarter or to the quarter reports?
I would say you have enough changes that it might make sense to update it totally and relook at it at your next meeting and vote to approve them, because you don't want to approve it without having seen all of the full updates. But that would just be my cautionary tale.
Okay. Does everybody feel okay about doing that? Because there seems to be a couple of things to add.
It's fine with me.
Okay. And I'm not hearing any no's, so I'm going to go ahead and ask. And thank you, Bob.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't get in the way of submitting the reports in a timely fashion, then sure, we can wait another meeting.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would offer is I'm willing, if I think I should be able to, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, help put together a sort of a more attractive, like, pictorial newsletter that we could put out that folks could share that sort of summarizes some of these reports. It's something I think based on conversations between you all and the council and the community having some uncertainty about what's exactly happened and maybe explaining the process, we could do that and then maybe see if we could share that with some email news listservs and things, just to try to get some, because I know that that's been a concern that's been expressed by this group, is the desire to get some of this additional information. And so maybe we could create that document, have it live on the website, and then also be able to share it.
I'm feeling it.
Have a
I'm
PAB
feeling the
website
sense of,
yet?
I'm sorry?
Do we have a PAB website?
We have a section on the city's website.
Okay, but we're also supposed to have, right?
Our own website, I think, right?
I don't know if it's prescribed as such, but most of the city boards have a section on the city's website, which is what the PAB does as well. Like the land use boards, like the zoning board and the other boards that
Just
do all
my
of that.
reading of the legislation made it sound like they were assuming we would have our own website, but presumably the ED just manages that part of the website. Is that how that works?
It might be the case because we have staff support, or there might be the ability to do other staff support for if your ED does not necessarily have website skills. So,
okay,
I think it'd be really important for us to have some sort of either working group about communication and public relations, and certainly could interface with BJ until we have an ED, because there's other venues that we could be disseminating some very simple information to help dispel any public uncertainty around things that are happening, to just kind of offer, here's what the PAB does do, here are the powers we still do have, and here's what's happening, and this is what we did our last, very simple updates that help people feel like they're part of the process, help our constituency feel represented, and generally just help to educate the public so they understand like what Police Accountability Board does and does not do, I think would be really great. So I'd be happy to help out with something like that. We've been talking about it for a while, and it might be nice to take a formal step. I just didn't know how much hinged on having the ED in place before we did that, or if we could start building that infrastructure so that the ED can actually make use of it once the ED arrives.
right. So I was thinking we might be able to put in an update from you all, and then maybe on the back, a small letter from the council president explaining where we are in the process for the lawsuit to the community as well. So sort of a correspondence. So I have mocked up a small portion of it, which I can show you, which is not any real text, but just sort of a real quick draft of what it could look like. It's not a ton. It's really just a picture that I edited to sort of get everyone's picture. I took it from Zoom and tried to pause it at a place where everybody looked reasonable, but I'm sure no one is ever happy with their pictures.
You could, we did have to submit pictures for our bios before. Why don't you could use those too.
Yes,
Am I really that sad?
Serious, not sad.
No.
Sorry.
I don't think I have enough books in my picture.
Everybody just contemplating. Love it.
And it over, there's more.
I think it's a nice idea. The only concern I have is that we need to be interviewing ED candidates, and we're still sort of bouncing around and not doing that.
So that's where we're headed next.
Yeah.
So
Let's get there.
This is
thank you.
this is not letting me unshare my screen.
So are we making a motion to accept BJ's proposal, or what are we deciding? Just so we can.
Oh, we don't need to have a motion on this. It's just, it was just, I'm sorry, my screen is not able
So
to.
the motion that I asked to be, the motion I'm actually asking for is the community group that Matthew had laid out. And so that's what I'm asking, if anybody wants to put forth that motion.
Like a community relations task force, what you're saying, or working
Or
group?
like a subcommittee work group.
Because to have a motion, we need to have a specific, we need
Yes.
to call it something.
So I would say community relations subcommittee.
Just a quick clarification. Are you talking about a committee that would be made up of only board members?
Yes.
Okay, so
We're
then
not.
under your bylaws, that is a standing committee, just so we all have the lingo here.
And Stephanie, just a clarification point. The work could be done without establishing a formal committee and without a vote, by just deciding that they want to work on it now, or would it require the establishment of a committee?
No, if certain members of the board want to work on something, that does not necessarily require the establishment of a committee. If they
Yeah.
want a formal structure, then that would require the establishment of a committee, and then those committees' meetings would all be subject to the open meetings law.
Let's just, I would move to just informally work on it until we have something substantial that we want to introduce. But I still think we should talk about it maybe and get it going.
Okay.
Just because with COVID and everything else, we don't want to have to like kind of arrange a public meeting every time we want to kind of make a Facebook post or something. You know what I mean?
Okay. So
So-
then that motion's not on the floor then. So I'm going to, and you're gonna informally work on that.
How about, can we agree out? BJ, you and I could talk a little bit about it, and anyone else, is anyone else interested in that kind of stuff? If we wanted to kind of get a group going to reflect on
Yeah,
it?
I mean, we have reactions on the Zoom call, so I think we can use them. So if anybody wants to raise their hand. I've never used these reactions before, so I would like to try. Like, here's my thumbs up. I'd like to work on that. Anyone else? Matthew? No one?
Okay, so if you all want to get me text, I don't mind doing some of the design part of it, and just I can try to go through, and if you would prefer to use your other pictures, I thought the Zoom screen made sense because that's how we're meeting, but I understand that people,
Sad Shawnee, that's a good face.
I didn't look super sad.
the hard part is
I
that the
vote
other
for other
pictures.
pictures.
Well, I'll get a draft to people to look at when we're ready.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, so is there anything that I've forgotten before we move into executive session? Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we move into executive session.
Second that motion.
Thank you. All right, I think I have to call a vote. So I'm gonna call a vote to move into executive session. All right, thanks, Reverend Harvey, using your thumbs up. Aye.
Thumbs up.
Okay, all right. And then we have a couple people that are gonna be, thank you. They're gonna be not able to be here. So, all right, so now we're gonna move into executive session.
Did you finish the
One
motion?
moment.
I'm sorry?
So you said all in favor, and then did
Yep, so
anyone?
I did say all in favor. Yep,
Okay.
and from what I understand, I got nods and thumbs ups. So I think that everybody's in favor of that, and the ones that are not here, which is Ida and Mike Well.
So I think that Dr. McIntosh was just saying, you usually would say any opposed, and just to verify.
Okay.
And abstain.
Well, I thought we couldn't say abstained because we're all here and we've all not abstained. So
Abstention would be considered a vote by a person who is present. So only people present can vote. So the total will always equal 6. but the people could choose to abstain should they want to.
I see. Okay, well, I have questions after this, so we'll move on. But, all right, so any opposed and any abstentions? Okay.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch who seconded.
It was Dr. McIntosh.
Dr.
Thank you.
Okay, so it passes 6-0, and I will stop the live